Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Friday, January 19th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Akron game in 225 days, the game against Michigan in 316 days. There could be major news breaking for the Ohio State program, any minute now. I just sort of nervously checked Twitter before I hit record on this one. The Ohio State Buckeyes could be very, very close to naming their new offensive coordinator. That is news that we have been talking about on the Insider Board, the Huddle Board presented by Jeff Ruby Steakhouse at BuckeyeHuddle.com since late last week. I put out two names that I was hearing. One of those names sounds like it is the leading contender to be the new offensive coordinator of Ohio State. Well, whenever that happens, we will talk about who that is. If you want to join the conversation right now, you can do that on the Huddle Board at BuckeyeHuddle.com and get all the insider information on what we're hearing. Some thoughts from our scheme guys on who that might be and how that whole dynamic might work, working with Ryan Day. That's all on the Huddle Board at BuckeyeHuddle.com. But in the meanwhile, I do want to let you hear from new Ohio State University President Ted Carter at the Ross Bjork press conference on Wednesday. It was also our first chance to really meet Ted Carter and sort of get his thoughts on the athletic department and where this all fits in and maybe the future of athletics at the college realm and all of that. So we're going to let you hear directly from Ohio State President Ted Carter here. And this is sort of a higher level conversation. We normally are kind of getting down into the nitty gritty on stuff and depth charts and, positional changes and that kind of stuff. This is a much higher level conversation. This is the university president. He is not necessarily as worried about the third string tight end as much of this audience is. So it's going to be sort of a bigger picture conversation. Let's start with Ted Carter himself. He just started on January 1st, so Ross Bjork is the new AD. Ted Carter, the very new university president, started on January 1st. So when did he actually get involved in the process that ended with Ross Bjork being named the new Ohio State athletic director?
Obviously, I've been the University of Nebraska assistant president until 31 December. I was in communication with Dr. Peter Moeller as acting. I was kept informed of how the search advisory committee was being put together. I didn't have direct involvement in that. They were often doing their job, so it allowed me to continue that effort. But from the day I started here on January 1st, I was deeply involved in the search, all the way to some of the final interviews and then another level of final interviews. Simply stated, I think I just need to say what Ross said to tell you how he separated himself from the rest of the candidates. He struck me as somebody that has the values here at Ohio State: integrity, passion, care for our students. And as I went before in my earlier comments, I was looking for those three criteria, and I measured those against all of the candidates, and he was by far the leader. It wasn't we had good candidates. I mean, we had a really wide range of candidates, as you might imagine, interested in this job. But Ross was a clear winner in that discussion.
Here's a great big picture question for the new university president, Ted Carter. He was the chancellor at the University of Nebraska before coming to Ohio State. So he has a decent sense on how things work inside the Big Ten. So what are Ted Carter's thoughts on whether Ohio State should sort of exert its power a little bit more in conference conversations rather than just having the 1/18th of the decision-making process kind of vote that it would typically have in this new Big Ten?
Well, first of all, as you may know, in the Big Ten, we have a council of chancellors and presidents, and everybody has equal weight, and that's the voting body within the Big Ten. The ADs certainly have influence, and I think the thing I would tell you first and foremost is I'm looking for alignment. Not only what I bring into that council of chancellors and presidents, but how we are aligned together with the athletic director, with the coaches, with all of our sports programs. I mean, as you all know, we are unique. 36 Division I programs. I mean, there's only a couple in the country that are even close to that, Stanford and, quite honestly, Navy. And there's an extra level of responsibility as this landscape is changing, to be able to maintain that, be competitive, take the care of our student athletes as Gene Smith has done with his Circle of Care and some of the programs, the Institute of Leadership he's created. I know that Ross is going to continue on with not only that legacy, but in the room with everybody in all the different universities, some universities should have a little bit of different weight. And this is not trying to be bigger than somebody else, but this university has been at the top of performance across all of our sports, all of our programs compared to our peers. And we won't necessarily have a bigger voice in there, but our voice should matter.
Here's an even bigger picture conversation than the Big Ten level. How about the NCAA and the college sports realm on the whole? What are Ted Carter's views on restructuring the NCAA in a way that maybe makes sense for some of the realities of modern college athletics?
Yeah, I wish I could come up here and just give you the answer and draw a wiring diagram for you. Obviously there's going to be a lot of discussion. I agree with Ross in that the time is coming very quickly. The ability to operate Division I, Division II, Division III, even FBS compared to the Power 5 or the A5 just in college football, there's too much of a difference, and that there's going to have to be some separation there. Clearly, conference realignment, whether we are pushing to do it or whether it's happening, and again, as Ross just pointed out, we either are part of that solution or it's going to happen to us. So we are a large, powerful organization within the D1 athletic organization. We should have a big voice in that, and we should be prepared to go into that. And that's why, as we were looking for who's going to be the next athletic director here at Ohio State, we need somebody that not only has a vision, but's been in the arena, has been in it. And Ross has been on the NCAA compliance committees. He's a leader within the National Association of Athletic Directors. So he knows the landscape as well as anybody. And I'm really excited about that.
One thing that a lot of people may not have known, and I will raise my hand and say I did not know until the press conference on Wednesday, is that Ross Bjork has fairly extensive family ties to the state of Ohio. So how important was it for someone like Ross Bjork to have those ties to the state if he's going to be the athletic director of the state university?
I would say the connection to Ohio and understanding some of the culture, some of the traditions here is a plus, not a requirement. It was a plus. I mean, I have to fully admit to you that I don't have a lot of state of Ohio connections. The Board of Trustees saw something special in me, and I'm a world traveler. My wife, Lynn, and I have lived all over the world, all four corners of the country, in a lot of different places. Sometimes that experience is what matters. And I can tell you, in my relatively short time being here in the city of Columbus in the state of Ohio, this is an incredible state. I'll say right up to front to all of you, we have never been more welcome any place we've been. This was, I think, our 24th move that we've made in our lifetime. It was the best move we've ever made, not because of the ease of moving 500 boxes and a whole bunch of stuff into a house, but the way we were welcomed here. So I felt confident in my own experience coming here and how we would be welcomed, that the requirement to have to be, a connected person from the state of Ohio, not necessarily a requirement, a wonderful thing to have. And I see that as a tremendous positive. And I'm really thrilled for the family of Bjorks and their lifelong history with the state of Ohio. I think it's a wonderful connection.
Anytime you talk to anyone about Ross Bjork in the college sports realm, you're going to hear about fundraising and NIL and how that's been a really strong point in his background. And given the realities of the modern college football world and college athletics world and the realm of NIL, which has sort of become one of the major driving forces in college sports these days, how important was it to have someone with that kind of strong fundraising background to be the new Ohio State athletic director?
Well, first of all, NIL, name, image, likeness, I'd say we're still in the early stages of it. And we're still learning a lot more about it. There's going to probably be more regulations put around that. I think that will tie eventually to what Ross was already talking about and whatever shared revenue models that will go into the future. There's no doubt that be able to raise money for capital, type of programs, capital events, campaigns, as well as being able to do things in the NIL space has to be done appropriately and has to be done in a way that the biggest programs can survive. As I look out over the landscape, I mean, just in the Big Ten today, we're going to bring in 4 teams from the West Coast, 36 teams. We're going to be traveling 4 time zones. There's going to be extra cost to that travel. And if we do go to any kind of revenue sharing, the amount of revenue that we bring in today is going to be a little more difficult. So managing the budget, managing the future of fundraising and how we're going to be able to manage a program this vast and this big is going to take some imagination. It's going to take somebody that's got the ability to show people what right looks like. And I believe Ross is that man who'll be able to do that.
And speaking of the realities of modern college sports, when you have some of the conversations that are going on with maybe the schools are going to start taking over a role in paying players directly, and some of the other realities of the sport in terms of NIL, and there's only so many dollars to go so many places, and you're still paying off big, expensive buildings that you've built in the past. Well, Ohio State has one of the biggest athletic departments in the country, 36 varsity sports. So to Ted Carter, does he plan to maintain 36 varsity sports? Is it even possible to maintain an athletic department that size with all of the other demands that are now coming up against your finances?
We're 36 Division I sports, and that's the way I'm tending to stay. Now, can that change in the future? Of course. I mean, the dynamics of where money will go and how it comes in. I mean, let's face it, there's two sports here, even at as great as we are, the Ohio State University, that generate money, football and men's basketball. There are some other programs in the country where some other sports generate a little bit more. So we're going to have to think about revenue streams. But I've been around the block long enough that I was a student athlete myself at Navy. I do not want to cut sports at all. And I've seen programs like Stanford and William and Mary go through that and then regret it and have to, cycle back. I'd really like to not do that. So I'm going to stand here and tell you that we got 36 Division I sports here. I refer to Gene and where we are today and Ross where we're going, but my intention is to keep 36 Division I sports.
Well, I know the university president is not necessarily the single most exciting person on campus, especially from a sports fan's perspective, but it does feel like that's someone who is going to be making a lot of the very big decisions around the university and going to be having a big say in some of the decisions that you probably do care about on a little bit more of a sports-centric level in the coming years. So good to sort of have a little bit of background on Ted Carter, how he thinks, how he talks, the kind of decisions he makes. So thought that was probably worth a quick run through. I probably will be the last time I'm going to guess you're going to hear from Ted Carter for a little while on this show, but there's going to be plenty more to talk about on the show in the coming days. As of right now, Jim Harbaugh is still a candidate for multiple NFL jobs. What's going to happen with Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan program? That's going to be a conversation I'm sure we're going to have in the coming days. Ohio State's new offensive coordinator. Whatever coaching changes follow that decision. We're talking about that in the coming days. There are a bunch of recruits. There's some folks visiting this weekend. Plenty of transfer portal drama. Plenty of recruits potentially deciding their recruitments in the next couple days and weeks. It is going to be a very busy week and a very busy month at BuckeyeHuddle.com. We would love to see you there to join us for all of it. Got Kevin and Tony and I covering the team, Mark covering recruiting, our whole team of X's and O's gurus, making you a smarter football fan, breaking down what some of these coaching staff changes could mean for the Buckeyes in the 2024 season. All that and more, and a very active and vibrant board, all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. And of course, we will also see you at youtube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. We'd love it if you subscribed in both of those places. Leave us a thumbs up on YouTube. Give us some comments there. We appreciate those. And then we hopefully will see you on the huddle board at BuckeyeHuddle.com to talk about all of the news as it develops over the next few days, next few weeks, and all of that. So that will do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We will talk to you tomorrow.